Hello, everyone. Thank you for making it here today on such short notice. I'm going to let my colleagues speak first, but I just wanted to kick things off by making clear that we Democrats will not let the Trump administration pull the wool over our eyes and declare a case closed on such a massive national security breach without giving us any real answers or taking any real accountability. Pete Hegseth's incompetence could have killed American service members. The fact that this administration doesn't seem to take that seriously or care in the slightest is an insult to all who've served, and I certainly take it as such. I'll go into more of that in a few minutes. For now, I want to pass things off to my friend, Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you to Senator Duckworth for bringing us together and for her vigilance and vigor on this extraordinarily important national security issue, and to Mark Kelly and Senator Hirono as well. The ramifications of this profound national security breakdown are mushrooming, not diminishing. This scandal, far from going away, is actually reverberating among our allies through the national security apparatus and through our military. Today, in the confirmation proceedings, the hearing concerning General Kane, I raised this issue very specifically because our military men and women are understandably outraged by this breach, putting in danger those pilots who were about to launch on missions in harm's way, going into the very sophisticated and advanced air defense that the Houthis have because they've been so aided by Iran. This national security breach needs and deserves investigation. I've called for an FBI investigation. Criminal laws were broken here, in my view. The FBI National Security Division should be investigating it as a criminal violation of the Espionage Act. There are also record requirements that seemingly have been violated, and there needs to be a full, penetrating, prompt investigation. I am supportive of Senator Reid and Senator Wicker calling for the Inspector General of the Department of Defense to investigate. But there is no Inspector General right now. The Inspector General was fired by Donald Trump. Even in the best of times, Inspector General reports sometimes take many months, even years to complete. This investigation must be done by the FBI fully, promptly, carefully, comprehensively, because the carelessness that's exemplified here has ramifications all its own. And I will just say, I'm hearing reports that our allies are absolutely aghast and appalled and now increasingly reluctant to deal with our national security teams. And the Israelis in particular are absolutely outraged and reassessing what their posture is going to be vis-a-vis our intelligence community. The ramifications are sweeping and continuing, and the idea that it's case closed, no way. This kind of careless, reckless, lawless treatment of clear national security interests cannot be accepted. There must be FBI as well as Department of Defense investigations. So again, my thanks to Senator Duckworth, and I'll turn it over to Senator Kelly.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Some of the most sensitive information that any military service has to do with the timing and the platforms and the weapon systems that are going to be used today, tomorrow, the next day. Senator Duckworth and I both flew combat missions over Iraq. For me, it was in the first Gulf War in 1991. For Senator Duckworth, it was the second war in Iraq, 2003 and beyond that. If, while I was planning a strike off the USS Midway in the early days of Desert Storm, if somebody would have told me that the Secretary of Defense at the time, Dick Cheney, was about to release the details of our combat mission over an unsecured platform, obviously at the time Signal did not exist, I would have just been shocked. And all of us would have realized very quickly that this has put us at much more additional risk. Countries like Yemen have early warning systems to see when airplanes and missile systems are coming at them offensively. In this case, if this information would have been shared beyond that reporter and would have made its way to unfriendly countries and ultimately shared with Yemen and the Houthis, they don't need that early warning system anymore. They basically know which direction the airplanes are coming from because they know where the aircraft carrier is, they know the timing. You can see on this chart here. And it's not around, right? You notice at the bottom, I think it says 1536 or something like that. 1536, F-18 second strike starts. That's not around 3:30. It's incredibly specific. That information came from a classified document or classified information that was shared with the Secretary of Defense over the phone. And to put this in a signal chain to other members of the senior national security team at the White House is beyond irresponsible. It is reckless. And I can't even figure out why he did it. It's not important information to those folks on the signal chain. I think he was sort of showing off that he had this information. He's obviously new in this job. And it was my view before he was confirmed that he was unprepared to take on this role. The least qualified Secretary of Defense in perhaps our country's history. One thing we learned in the military is when you make a mistake, you got to own up to it. And I think most folks in that position would have owned up to it at this point. And all we've heard from Secretary of Defense Hegseth is excuses. So I stand here with my colleagues calling on the let's get this investigation underway. Chairman Wicker and Ranking Member Reed have both called for an IG investigation. And we need to get to the bottom of this. And it's incredibly concerning to me that this is probably not a one-off event. That this unsecured signal platform was likely used on multiple other occasions to share classified information. And that not only puts our service members at risk, it puts all of us at risk. Thank you. And Senator Hirono. Thank you.
Thank you. So there's no question this was a security breach of the First Order. Much as this administration would like this whole thing to go away, sweeping everything under the rug, it would be completely irresponsible for any of us to support that kind of total dereliction of duty. All four of us who spoke, and I'm speaking now, we all sit on the Senate Armed Services Committee. And of course, Senators Duckworth and Kelly have flown combat missions, so they know the danger posed by this kind of information on an unsecure platform. So you've heard us saying how appalled we were, but what we haven't heard is for this administration to say this should never have happened. The first instinct by our Secretary of Defense apparently was to blame the reporter who was inadvertently let in on this chat. That is the responsibility as the Secretary of Defense saw it. I have no words for the kind of attitude that he has taken. And to date, I don't think that this administration or the Secretary of Defense or anybody involved has said this should never have happened, it will never happen again, because what is there to think about? One should never have these kinds of discussions on an unsecured channel and an unsecured platform. So as mentioned, today we had a confirmation hearing of President Trump's pick to be the chair of the Joint Chiefs. And this is a person who understands the importance of the kind of conversations that should take place on a secret channel. And he obviously said that he has never had this kind of conversation on an unsecure channel, and how important it is to protect what he called the element of surprise. Because these are very, I think the word risky applies. These are risky missions. And the element of surprise is important. How surprising is it, I asked him, if these kinds of discussions are occurring on an unsecure channel, on an unsecure platform? So the people who are put at risk, they've written, I believe, to op-eds, how they felt that they were put into harm's way by this kind of discussion taking place in this way. And so far, we have not heard this administration own up to it and to say it will never happen again. Our service members deserve better, and of course our country, our national security issues are at stake. And this kind of carelessness, a lack of taking any responsibility, is what is par for the course with this administration, not only in this instance, but and just about everything else that the administration is doing, because this is an administration that governs by fear, chaos, and total unaccountability. So we are calling on accountability here, although I must say that considering that we are asking for an investigation, et cetera, by other Trump nominees who are just totally loyal to him and not to the Constitution, what one wonders what kind of independent investigation can really occur. But, as I said, there is nothing to think about. This should never have happened. It should never happen again. And we need an administration that says it will never happen again. There's nothing to think about. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hirono, and my colleagues, Senator Kelly and Senator Blumenthal. As you know, last week I used some pretty colorful language to call Pete Hegseth a liar. On second thought, I'd like to change it a little. I'd like to call him a disgrace as well, because every classified detail he leaked over that Signal chat, he put our troops in greater and greater danger of being shot down. So as a former Army helicopter pilot who was nearly killed when the enemy got too good a shot at my own aircraft, I paid in blood for my right to ask these three simple questions. First, how dare Pete Hegseth risk these pilots' lives for no apparent reason? How dare a man who is supposed to lift up our heroes let them down so badly? And how dare the Trump administration try to get away with sweeping this security breach under the rug, declaring case closed with no repercussions for anyone involved, with Trump going so far as to call this crisis a, quote, glitch. Well, I've got news for you, President Trump. Putting our troops and their families in unnecessary danger wasn't just a glitch. It was an inexcusable, grave mistake, as was choosing Pete Hegseth to be their Secretary of Defense. Listen, Cadet Bone Spurs couldn't tell you the meaning of the word sacrifice if he had a dictionary open to it right in front of him. But unlike our president, our heroes are willing to risk the unimaginable for our nation. In return, they deserve leaders who actually respect their sacrifice. Leaders who actually give a damn about keeping them out of the kind of needless, reckless danger that Hegseth put them in last month. The Trump administration might be trying to cover this up and get everyone to hurry on to the next news cycle, but I refuse to let them do so, because we still have absolutely zero indication that they just won't do this all over again. We still don't know how many other group chats there were, or currently are, where Trump officials are leaking other state secrets to God knows who, and we still don't know what the hell the administration is doing to address any of this. To me, it's clear. If Republicans actually care about our troops like they claim to on the campaign trail, then they must do the bare minimum here. They must join me in demanding immediate congressional hearings as well as an independent investigation looking into every official who was on that chat. My Republican colleagues must remember that they serve the people of this country, not Donald Trump's ego. They must understand that our troops sacrifice for our nation, not a wannabe king. And if Pete Hegseth doesn't have the dignity or courage to do the right thing and resign from his post, then Donald Trump must fire him immediately. Because every moment that Hegseth remains Secretary of Defense, his incompetence emboldens our adversaries. It weakens our national security, and it makes Americans less safe. And every second that Trump dodges holding him accountable, the president is giving the middle finger to all those who wear the uniform, just like he has so many times before. Our troops deserve better than the Trump administration's fake patriotism and false promises. They deserve real, actual answers. They deserve actual leadership. Thank you. With that, I have time for a few questions. Go ahead.
So, in the immediate aftermath of this coming to light, there was a Washington Post article about government officials using Signal. We know it's on the phones. It was approved not for classified use like what we're talking about here, but it was approved and it is on government phones. Will this investigation encompass sort of the government-wide use of Signal and take a look at clarifying those use cases?
I think that could be a subsequent look, but the first thing we have to look at is the DOD's use of the Signal and what happened on this particular evening and what happened before and are there continuing to be Signal chat groups that are being used with our top national security experts who are basically putting the nation's secrets out there for anybody to hack. Yes.
Republicans that have welcomed an Inspector General investigation, have they given any indication that they are open to congressional hearings if there are findings in that particular investigation?
I think they're running scared from President Trump, and they're keeping their heads under. In the Army, we call that the defilade position. They need to step out and do what's right for the American people and stop protecting Trump's ego. And they need to also call for a congressional investigation into this. Yeah.
Blumenthal mentioned the time that an IT investigation could take. Senator Wicker very clearly asked for an expedited investigation. Do you think that the acting IG will actually be able to conduct that investigation, and do you feel at all supported by the call for such an investigation?
I support the call for the investigation, but I also think simultaneously there should be a congressional investigation. That can certainly happen much quicker. I mean, at the very least, let's get all of those electronic devices. You know, if this has happened and it was anybody else in the DOD at a lower level, the first thing that would have happened was that somebody would have come in and grabbed everybody's electronic devices so that they could do a forensic analysis of all of those devices. As far as I know, that has not yet happened. There's a Records Act where they're supposed to turn over all of the text, the chats that was that was active that night. And in fact, I think there's a judge has ordered it for them to preserve it. I don't think that has been turned over either. So I think there are immediate things that can happen, and then there can be the IG investigation with the acting IG that can certainly move forward.
Sorry, just Senator Wicker also, along with Senator Reid, mentioned having a senior official from the White House come in and do a closed brief to the committee to sort of discuss what had happened and the information in there. Do you feel like that's going to actually yield any information to and provide any answers, or do you feel like that's more just a move to placate?
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing what that individual has to say when it happens. But again, I won't know till they come in front of us. I suspect it's a move to placate. Any questions? Okay, thank you.